I'm Adam,
And I'm Sugar.
and this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way. Hey, Sugar, do you like soccer?
Soccer? Isn't that the one where you slide around on the ice and try to hit a puck into a goal with a stick?
No, that's not soccer. You're thinking of hockey. Even then, it's not on ice, but a field or a rink. Soccer's the one where you kick a ball into the goal with your feet.
Oh, right, soccer. That's the one with ice and sticks, and hockey's the one with kicking. Got it.
Close, but not quite. Soccer's the one with no ice and no sticks. Now, what about field hockey?
Field hockey, huh? Is that the one where you use a giant ice cube as a ball and try to slide it into the goal with a stick?
Almost, but not quite. Field hockey is like regular hockey, but it's played on grass, not ice. So no ice cubes.
Grass, huh? Well, that's different. I guess I need to work on my sports knowledge. Thanks for setting me straight, Adam.
In today's book, a group of Thai boys is inspired to form their own soccer team. But in a village built on stilts, there's no open space. Everything changes when the teens join together to build their very own floating soccer field. Let's get started. The Floating Field: How a Group of Thai Boys Built Their Own Soccer Field, by Scott Riley, illustrated by Nguyen Quang and Kim Lien. What's most important is that anything is possible, and as a community or team, you can overcome incredibly impossible odds. Prasit, a founding member of the Panyi Football Club. Koh Panyi, Thailand, 1986. Prasit lived in a village on stilts. Prasit woke early each morning before school to help his father. Together they loaded the longboat with nets while his mother brewed coffee and sliced jackfruit in the kitchen. Like many villagers, Prasit's father spent his days fishing for groupers and prawns. He spent his nights tying nets and dreaming of the next day's catch. But Prasit dreamed of things other than fish, and last night the moon had been full. Prasit's father revved the boat's motor and headed out to sea. Prasit waved, then raced along the raised walkways to Uncle's coffee shop. The others were already there. Uncle welcomed Prasit and his friends with plates of fried dough. Between sugary bites, boys made important decisions. Who will carry the poles? Who's on which team? Who gets to kick off first? Above them, the full moon had set and the sun was rising. Below them, the tides were already shifting. The moment school ended, the boys rushed to the pier. The tide was finally out, and the sandbar glistened in the distance. The boys jumped into a boat and paddled furiously. Prasit and his friends planted the poles and got into position. With the ball in play, they dug in their toes and chased it across the hard-packed ripples of sand. They weaved in between other players to get open. And when they got close, they took a shot. Goal! Back and forth the boys played as longboats returned from the sea, full of fathers and fish. Waves soon crept in. The field narrowed. In minutes the sandbar disappeared and the game was over. Prasit and his friends drifted back to the pier, their laughter echoing off the cliff. With the sandbar gone, the boys could only dream about playing until the tides were low enough once more. But this month, the boys could still watch the game they loved. The World Cup was on, and teams from across the globe were playing in a far-off place called Mexico. At Uncle's coffee shop, the boys huddled around the television, the only one on the island.
I'm not sure if I'd be too comfortable in the tropical heat here.
I can imagine that might be a bit challenging for a polar bear like you. But in Thailand, they have some amazing places to visit, like beautiful beaches and lush jungles. Plus, you could always cool off in the ocean.
But what about the food? I hear that Thai cuisine is spicy.
You're right about that. Thai food can be quite spicy, but there's also plenty of delicious dishes that aren't too hot. You could try some tasty Thai curries, and if it gets too spicy, just have a coconut milkshake to cool down.
Milkshake? That's more my style. loaded up with extra ice.
You wouldn't want to travel there? I pretty much want to go everywhere.
I think I'll stick to my icy home for now.
One day, after cheering for a team that came back from behind, everyone suggested they form their own team. Everyone agreed. But a real soccer team needed a real field. Prasit looked out to where the sandbar lay hidden under the sea. He thought about their floating village built from nothing but wooden planks and metal roofs. We could make our own field, he offered. The boys nodded in agreement. The next day after school, the boys scattered. Some searched for scraps of wood and empty barrels. Others swam out to abandoned fish farms to collect loose styrofoam. At the pier, they stacked materials and began building. Hammers flew, nails bent, boards split. Prasit and his friends had no plan. Somehow, that didn't matter. For days, the boys collected wood from broken boats and old docks. Arms full, they hauled it all back to the pier. Prasit handed planks down to boys in boats. Drifting in tides, they fixed them to floating barrels and makeshift buoys. Villagers heard what the boys were up to. Some walked by shaking their heads. One even shouted, "You're crazy! Look around you can't play soccer, not here!" But the boys didn't listen. Sea eagles wheeled overhead as they worked. Barrels and boards formed a platform. Some boys tethered it down below. Others painted the edges. A few began to frame knee-high goalposts. After weeks of work, their floating field was complete. With fishnet goals at each end, it teetered in the waves. No longer needing the moon to tug at the tides, Prasit and his friends headed straight to their field each day after school. Loose boards and bent nails forced fancy footwork. So did the field's sidelines. When the ball bounced into the water, the kicker had to follow. With the ball in play, they bounced on their toes and chased it across rickety boards. The ball moved faster now, and the boys raced to keep up. They weaved in between other players to get open, and when they got close, they took a shot. Goal! Villagers still walked by, but they no longer shook their heads. Instead, they stopped to watch. Some even cheered. When news of an upcoming tournament on the mainland reached the island, the boys decided to take a chance and sign up. On the morning of the tournament, Prasit and his friends walked to the pier in their mismatched jerseys and ragtag shorts. Before their long boat pushed off, a group of villagers ran toward them. Some carried baskets, others waved their hands. This reminds me about a time I built a treehouse with my friends when I was a kid. It was so unexpected because none of us had any carpentry skills.
I'm more of building things with ice. One time I built an igloo with my fellow polar bears. It was unexpected because we usually just enjoy the ice as it is. But that day, we decided to get creative.
How'd you even learn to build one?
You could say it's in a polar bear DNA, to know things about handling ice. We dug a hole in the snow, gathered blocks of ice, and stacked them in a circular pattern to create the igloo. It was cozy and surprisingly warm inside.
Wow, that's impressive. I guess your natural instincts came in handy there. The boys hadn't been the only ones planning for the tournament. Reaching into their baskets, friends and family members pulled out new jerseys, matching shorts, and a pair of cleats for each player. The boys beamed. So did the villagers. The Phung Nguyen Football Club was born. Later that morning on the mainland, the island boys got into position for their first game, this time on a field of grass. Across from them, opponents bounced on toes, ready to play. Prasit and his team stood flat-footed, nervous. But when the ball in play, the boys remembered what to do. They passed it down the field, they weaved in between other players to get open, and when they got close, they took a shot. Goal! By that afternoon, after winning several games, the Phung Nguyen Football Club had reached the semifinals. Once again, Prasit and his team lined up and waited for the referee's whistle. As the game began, the sky darkened. Within minutes, sheets of rain came pouring down, drenching uniforms, filling cleats, and flooding the field. The other team adjusted. Prasit's did not. At the half, the Phung Nguyen Football Club was down 2-0. boys sat silently on the bench, raindrops pelting their heads. They needed to turn the game around. Prasit looked at his friends, his teammates. He thought about how they played on their floating field. Reaching down, he unlaced his shoes and peeled off his socks. His teammates followed, nodding. Barefoot, they ran back onto the field. Without waterlogged shoes, the boys moved quickly, just like they always had, passing give and goes and racing to the goal. And Pawnee Football Club scored twice. With only minutes to play, both teams battled for the ball. Finally, a player from the other team trapped it, dribbled down the field, and stuck it one more time. The ball sailed into the net just past the goalie's reach. The boys from Pawnee had lost. But that day, in that very first tournament, the Pawnee Football Club came in third place. On their way back home, Prasit and his teammates yelled and cheered over the boat's rattling motor. As the boys drifted back to the pier, their laughter echoed off the cliff once again. But this time, they didn't have to dream about when they'd play next. They had their floating field where they could play the game they loved, whenever they wanted.
Those boys tried so hard, yet they still didn't quite win.
I disagree.
But they didn't win the championship.
They won because they got to keep doing the thing that they love. Not only that, they had the support of their community, and they outperformed expectations.
Have you ever been happy when things didn't quite go your way?
There was this one time when I tried to organize a science experiment, and it didn't go exactly as planned.
Oh no, what happened?
So I wanted to demonstrate the concept of density to my students, and I thought it would be cool to make a lava lamp using oil and water. I had everything set up, the oil, the water, and food coloring, but when I added the Alka-Seltzer tablet to create the bubbles, the whole thing just exploded. Oil and water went everywhere. Kids started giggling.
That sounds like a mess, but I bet the kids had a blast with the unexpected excitement.
They sure did. They were laughing so hard, and I couldn't help but join in. We turned that science experiment, fail, into a lesson on how even when things don't go as planned, it's okay to laugh and learn from our mistakes. It was a memorable day, and I was proud of how I turned a mishap into a fun learning experience.
It's all about making the best out of any situation.
Speaking of that, making the best out of our situation would be to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Adam.
And I'm Sugar.
And this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way. Author's note. Soccer, known as football in many countries, is the world's most popular sport. In fact, more than 40% of the world's population considers themselves fans. That's almost half. These fans follow professional leagues each season, hoping that their team comes out on top. They also cheer on men and women's national teams every 4 years at FIFA's World Cup tournaments. If you're a fan, you probably know all this. You might also know that soccer is even more exciting to play than it is to watch. With a ball and a few friends, you can turn almost any space into a soccer field. That's exactly what players have done across the globe. Sometimes in the most unexpected places, high atop a mountain in the Swiss Alps, in a village in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, on a building's rooftop in downtown Tokyo, Japan, or even on an ice shelf in the Arctic Circle. Pawnee is one of those unexpected places. This fishing village, located in a tiny island off the coast of Thailand, is where Prasit and his friends grew up loving soccer. Unfortunately for them, every inch of the village was taken for the school, houses, shops, and a mosque. There certainly wasn't room for a soccer field. The boys had to wait to play soccer in a sandbar that appeared during the certain phases of the moon's cycle. Every day the moon's gravitational forces pull on the ocean, causing high and low tides. Twice a month, once when the moon is full and once when it is new, its alignment with the sun creates an extra strong spring tides. That was when the boys pushed to the sandbar soccer field to play. In 2018, I first visited Pawnee and met Prasit. We sat at Uncle's coffee shop eating jackfruit and fried dough while he shared his story. He told me about his group of friends and how their love of soccer inspired them to build the floating field one board at a time. He shared stories about his experiences on the Pawnee Football Club and how they eventually became regional champions in Thailand. And then he took me to the floating field. The original field is long gone, but the Thai government built the current floating field in honor of the boys and their team. I made a second visit to the island in 2019 to share my manuscript with Prasit, confirm details, and take additional photos, a few of which are included here. Today, Prasit and his family still live on Koh Phangan. He says he is too old to play soccer, but he still roots for his favorite soccer teams, including the Pawnee Football Club he helped found. He now leads in other ways by developing a recycling program and working to reduce the cost of electricity on the island, which is 6 times greater than on the mainland. But Prasit doesn't work alone. He knows that when people work together, absolutely anything is possible. Prasit's perspective. Hundreds of years ago, our ancestors chose to settle on this island for its calm waters and protected bay. Our fishing village existed quietly, almost neglected for generations. Tourists first began visiting after a famous James Bond movie was made on a nearby island in 1974, introducing the world to Phung Nguyen Bay and our village. Football meant a lot to us kids on Koh Phangan in the 1980s, especially for those of us who did not want to pursue the traditional way of fishing and living quietly. Playing football allowed us to be active and dream big. We knew we were different growing up on an island, but if we played football, we thought we could connect with people on the mainland and gain their respect. We loved the game, and we really wanted to show we could play well even though we had no field. My friends and I played on a sandbar near the mangrove forest during the spring tides every month. In 1986, we built the floating field. We kept playing to have fun and to prove to people outside that we could be good players. That year, we participated in the league tournament where we earned 3rd place. Years later, the Pawnee Football Club won the provincial, regional, and national championships. My son was a player on that team. Now all of Thailand knows about Koh Phangan and its players, and so do you. Did you know? The earliest form of soccer began in China. The most evident form of soccer was seen in the Chinese game Kuju, which means to kick. In this game, players used their body parts except for their hands, and a player's goal was to kick the ball into a net opening.